So I'm going to talk about rupture of membranes, and this is a fancy term for saying when your water breaks. One of the common misconceptions of pregnancy when it's time to go into labor is that your water is definitely going to break and you're going to know exactly when it's time to go to the hospital. However, that's not always the case. It's actually a pretty low percentage. I want to say it's like between 5 and 15% of women actually have their water break before going into labor as like a sign that they're going into labor. So I'm going to just talk about water breaking, what that means, what to look for, what that is going to feel like, so that way you're prepared. The first thing that could happen or possibly happen is just a sudden rupture of membranes. And this means that kind of like that movie scene. You're walking around, maybe you're at home, maybe you're asleep, and your water breaks. First of all, it can happen kind of two different ways. You could have a gush of fluid where it's like 100% you know that's what's happening, especially if it's like a clear liquid that doesn't smell. You know it's not pee. That probably means your water is breaking. And also you're close to 40 weeks. It also could trickle. So not only can it gush, but it could also come out just a little bit at a time. And that could kind of confuse you, make you feel like you're peeing your pants a little bit. So if you feel like this is happening and you're like, where is all this liquid coming on? And you lay down for a little bit and then you stand back up and it's still coming out, that probably means that your water is breaking. So just some things to keep in mind if that happens. You should still call your doctor right away because chances are if you're probably going to be having contractions pretty quickly, and she wants to, or he or she may want to bring you into the hospital to make sure that you're not going to get infected and things like that. So call your doctor right away and make sure to pay attention to the coat, C-O-A-T, of the amniotic fluid. So pay attention to the color, pay attention to the odor, the amount, and the time of which it happens. So call your doctor. They'll kind of let you know what they want you to do. Some doctors, like I said, will want you to come in right away. The other ones may want you to labor at home. Another thing that can happen is premature rupture of membranes. So this means that your water can break and you cannot have contractions for more than 1 hour after breaking. So if your water breaks but you're not having contractions and you're kind of waiting it out and you're still kind of figure out if this is my water breaking and you're still not having contractions, you still need to call your doctor, your medical provider, report the color, odor, amount, and time as well. And they might bring you into the hospital. They most likely will bring you into the hospital to monitor you, maybe even start you on some Pitocin to see if those contractions will start. I personally experienced this. My water broke. I was 38 weeks pregnant. So I was surprised. It was my first pregnancy. My water broke. I was not having contractions. I felt great. Everything was fine. It was like at night, so I called my husband. He was coming home from work because he was working like a weird shift, and I still wasn't having any contractions. So it was like 2 hours later, and I had already talked to my doctor, and they were like, take your time coming in. It should be fine. Still wasn't having any contractions. So by the time I got to the hospital, they ended up starting me on something because they wanted to, once the amniotic fluid's out, I mean, you're having the baby. They got to get you going. So that was my personal experience with that. The other thing which happens very, very frequently, and this is very common, is artificial rupture of membranes. So whenever you are in the hospital, let's say you start having contractions spontaneously on your own, or you are induced, then you're in the hospital, your water still has not broken. It sometimes can happen on its own during labor. I had that experience as well. And then other times it comes to a point where they're like, well, we're going to come and break your water because a lot of times that will help the process along and things like that. So if they do that, they say, okay, well, we're going to break your water now. They're going to use a long, it kind of looks like a crochet hook, and they are going to use that to break your water. Just puncture a little hole and they'll do that. And a lot of times that will help speed up the labor. So just some things to keep in mind as you are navigating labor, what to look for. Don't expect your water to break. So just want you to be prepared for that.